Joining us now to discuss the Chinese housing market and where it may head in 2013 is Jian Chen, the Managing Director at Integrated Financial Engineering. Thanks for joining us, sir.
Thank you, Anna.
The Chinese property market, as we've just heard there, is getting a lot of traction. Prices have gone up in 54 of the 70 cities which are tracked by the government. What's pushing this increase?
Well, I think basically there's a short-term uncertainty about where the government is going. So, if the government is going to tighten in the housing market control measures even more stringent, a lot of people want to get into the market right now. So there's a short-term rush to purchase homes. But in the long run, if we look at all the fundamentals like the income compared to the home price, the rental income to the home price, we have to say, that China's housing market has showed a significant bubble.
Yeah, I mean, is there danger that it could get into a bubble? And, what steps will the government take to put the brakes on, speculators, for instance, or, could they introduce things like tougher mortgage conditions, perhaps residency requirements to cool the market?
Well, exactly. The government has tried many times to control the home price, to stabilize, but so far we haven't seen all the previous measures hasn't worked very successfully. So there has to be drastic measures need to be taken. I mean, on one hand, they need to put additional supply in the land market or the housing market, but another side is basically they need to introduce the real estate tax system into the housing market. So for those people or homeowner, speculative homeowners who own the home, they would incur some additional cost. And for some of them, maybe they will be willing to sell their vacant homes to the housing market. So on one side, there will be additional supply. On the other side, there will be increased carry cost for them to consider. So in that case, I would think the housing price could be controlled.
Right. I was just wondering, what's the view like for developers of housing in China? I mean, are they going to start dumping in inventory if they see these measures come in?
Well, so far we haven't seen that happening. I mean, the existing or the survived developers, they have witnessed what has happened in the last 3 years. The government measure really didn't put too much pressure into them, and so far they have accumulated a lot of cash, so they can safely carry this cash into the next phase of the housing control policy.
Are we seeing prices go up across the country, or is this rapid rise in prices, is that particularly in urban areas in China?
I would think mostly in the first-tier cities, and we have seen some of the housing bubble already bursting in some of the third-tier or the first-tier cities. Basically, the housing has to be supported by the economy, the employment, and the income of the people. So if a local municipality where it doesn't have all these resources or income employment, the housing market cannot sustain a rapid growth in the next 10 to 20 years.
And I guess demand has to be there as well.
Well, that's a good question, whether it's a real demand for housing and consumption or whether it's investment demand, right? So if a lot of this demand actually is from the investment side, if there is additional investment vehicle, maybe they will dump their house and go to other which are more liquid investment vehicle. For example, real estate investment trust. Those are much more liquid than the real estate itself. But so far, the Chinese government has a pretty tight control on that, and we haven't seen that loosening yet. But if the average investor can find other ways to invest in the real estate market instead of holding the houses, that could be another cooling factor for the overheated housing market.
What about the government allocating more land for housing projects, for instance?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, the government basically, it says it is going to construct a lot of these affordable housing projects, basically to provide housing for the low and middle income households. But so far we have seen some scandals associated with, whether those affordable housing units has really been assigned to low and middle income people, or they have been used to some other government officials. And also whether it's double counted those houses who should have been constructed by other means, and they double counted as affordable housing unit. So far this year, we have seen the government has reduced the quota for the affordable housing unit, and we haven't seen a big surge in those completion for those units. So right now, I do not expect those going to have a significant impact on the housing price.
Okay, Jian Chen, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.